According to Cointelegraph, a publication that tracks cryptocurrency news, quote, cryptocurrency funds recorded a second consecutive week of inflows last week, extending the $3.3 billion in gains recorded the week before. Crypto exchange traded products, ETPs, logged $1.9 billion in inflows last week. Data from CoinShares showed Monday. This news comes on the heels of Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell's announcement that he was cutting interest rates, albeit slightly. Okay, it's something, triggering a relative tsunami of interest in cryptocurrencies. Meanwhile, CBS reports that, quote, SEC Chairman Paul Atkins also said on Tuesday that the agency would be working to write new rules for crypto in the coming months. In July, Atkins floated the idea of an exemption to let some businesses quickly enter the market with new technologies without having to comply with incompatible or burdensome prescriptive regulatory requirements. This appears to be a monumental shift in the way that America conducts its financial policy. Reports indicate, for example, that the U.S. dollar is having one of its worst years on record, meaning that our currency, which is essentially the lifeblood of our economy, is ailing. Crypto is seen as both a hedge against and an alternative to the U.S. dollar, which is subject to the whims of our central banking system. And then there's this other bit of news related to cryptocurrency. At a recent meeting, a Russian government official expressed his concern that the Trump administration was plotting to pay down our immense $37 trillion and counting, to be honest, national debt in stablecoins. This is something that Trump discussed repeatedly on the campaign trail last year. Watch.
I think crypto's got a great future. I think it really does. Maybe we'll pay off the $35 trillion in crypto.
Joining us now is someone we hope will help us better understand Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Eric Rice. He also is the host of the Rice Report, which I've been pleased to join a couple of times, and he's the president of Sovereign Capital. Good to see you, Eric.
Good to see you, Emerald.
What's happening? I feel like on social media, I keep seeing people. I saw Grant Cardone post something like, buy Bitcoin like your life depends on it. I was like, I got to ask somebody. So what's happening?
Yeah, Grant and Gary are out there on the campaign trail, all free. Nobody gets paid for that stuff. Yeah, here's so number one. Let's do one thing, and one thing that's very useful. There's a reason why people say Bitcoin and crypto. They're very different things. Bitcoin is its own living organism. It's what's called proof of work. The only way to get a Bitcoin is to buy it from someone else or expend energy and computing power to mine it yourself. Crypto predominantly is what's called proof of stake, where corporations are in charge and they print the tokens, then hire marketers to make a market for it. These are very different things. Bitcoin is oftentimes called digital gold because of its scarcity and its componentry, and the fact that it's globally neutral. So you can't be globally neutral if there's a corporation and a foundation that is helping run your monetary policy. That's very akin to the Federal Reserve. So this is a big topic right now because it's a new form of a commodity and it's a new thing to people. So it's very unique that people don't understand. I have a good video. If you go to Google and you Google Eric Rice, Rice Report, Bitcoin 101, it's a great breakdown of Bitcoin to help you understand that. But I think right now what we're looking at, Donald Trump is faced with literally, the old Mexican standoff, the Federal Reserve, Wall Street, and the citizens. These are the things that are battling. And we are currently in what's called a K-shaped economy. So think of a chart where one line goes directly up to the right, the other one goes down to the right, creating a K formation. That is the upper class and lower class. Our middle class is being destroyed. It's being eliminated. This is poor policy over the past 50 years that really accelerated during Biden's administration. And now we find ourselves in what's called stagflation, where we have nominal economic growth along with rising unemployment rate and rising inflation. So now we have the Federal Reserve, who is lowering interest rates while right now the inflation numbers are around 3%. I don't think anyone believes the inflation rate is around 3%. If you do, I have a home to sell you in Oklahoma that's right next to the ocean. And I think that people are starting to realize one thing. The dollar has lost 10% of its value this year, the U.S. dollar. That's part of a plan to increase trade. We have to lower the value of the dollar. This is part of the policy. So while that's happening, we have to understand inflation is not a rise in prices. It is actually a reduction or a debasement of your buying power with your dollar. So you can't tell us inflation's 3% when our dollar is losing 10%. It just doesn't make sense. So in these times of confusion, investors go to things that are solid, that are scarce. Nothing is more scarce than Bitcoin. It's more scarce than gold. It's more scarce than silver. So you're going to see gold and silver and Bitcoin really have a big run up in the next 2 to 3 years because of monetary policy that has to be put in place by the Trump administration to try to bail out a very difficult situation.
So talking about that difficult situation, I alluded to this a little bit in my open based on what the president said during the campaign last year. Do you think that he will look at some alternative method to pay down the national debt, say by using stablecoin, and would that be a smart strategy, Eric? We're in a precarious position with our national debt.